Los Angeles, the city of dreams, the place where everyone comes to make it big, to touch the stars, to live the life they see on screens. But what if I told you that beneath the Hollywood glamour, beneath the palm trees and the sunset boulevards, there are 10 hidden dangers that tourists walk past every single day without even knowing? What if the city you think you know is hiding something far darker than you ever imagined? Every year, millions of visitors flood into Los Angeles, cameras ready, hearts full of hope, completely unaware of the threats lurking in plain sight. Some of these dangers will shock you. Others will make you question everything you thought you knew about this iconic city. And by the end of this story, you might never look at Los Angeles the same way again. So buckle up, because what you're about to discover changes everything. Let me paint you a picture. It's a warm Tuesday afternoon in downtown Los Angeles. The sun is beating down on Skid Row, a 50-block radius that holds one of the largest concentrations of homeless individuals in the entire United States. Over 4,000 people live on these streets, 4,000 human beings sleeping on concrete, under tarps, in tents that line the sidewalks like a makeshift city within a city. Tourists often stumble into this area by accident, following their GPS to a trendy restaurant or a historic building, and suddenly they find themselves in a completely different world. The smell hits you first, then the reality. This is not the Los Angeles you see in movies. This is not the City of Angels. This is survival mode, and most visitors have no idea how to navigate it safely. The danger here is not just about crime, although that exists. It's about the unpredictability, the desperation, the mental health crises happening in real time on every corner. You see someone screaming at invisible enemies. You see needles on the ground. You see children playing next to shopping carts filled with everything a person owns. And here's what nobody tells you. The city has struggled for decades to solve this crisis, pouring billions into programs that seem to barely make a dent. Why? Because the root causes run deeper than anyone wants to admit. Skid Row is not just a neighborhood. It's a symptom of a broken system, a mirror reflecting America's failure to care for its most vulnerable. And tourists? They walk through with their phones out, taking pictures like it's a zoo, completely unaware that they are one wrong turn, one confrontation, one desperate moment away from becoming part of someone else's survival story. But that's just danger number one. Wait until you see what comes next. Danger number two lives in the air you breathe. Los Angeles has some of the worst air quality in the entire nation. The smog that hangs over the city like a dirty blanket is not just an aesthetic problem. It's a public health crisis that most tourists never even think about. You arrive, you step off the plane, you take a deep breath of California air, and you think you're fine. But your lungs? They're already under attack. The particles floating in that air are so small, they bypass your body's natural defenses and lodge deep into your respiratory system. Over 60 million people in the United States live in areas with unhealthy air quality, and Los Angeles ranks near the top of that shameful list. The American Lung Association gives LA an F grade for ozone pollution. F as in failing, as in dangerous, as in you are literally shortening your lifespan with every breath you take in certain parts of this city. Tourists with asthma, with heart conditions, with any kind of respiratory sensitivity, they come here thinking the sunshine will heal them, but instead, they find themselves wheezing, coughing, struggling to catch their breath after a simple walk down Sunset Boulevard. Tourists with asthma, with heart conditions, with any kind of respiratory sensitivity, they come here thinking the sunshine will heal them, but instead, they find themselves wheezing, coughing, struggling to catch their breath after a simple walk down Sunset Boulevard. Children are especially vulnerable. Studies show that kids growing up in high-pollution areas of Los Angeles have reduced lung function that stays with them for life. But here is the part that should terrify you. Most of the time, you cannot even see the danger. On a clear, sunny day, you look at the sky and think everything is fine. Meanwhile, microscopic particles of nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide, and volatile organic compounds are flooding your bloodstream, triggering inflammation, increasing your risk of heart attack and stroke. The city has made progress over the decades, sure. Emission standards have improved. But the geography of Los Angeles works against it. The mountains trap the pollution. The traffic pumps out more toxins every single day. And tourists? They rent convertibles and cruise down the Pacific Coast Highway with the top down, breathing in poison and calling it freedom. Danger number 3 hides in the water, not the ocean, although we will get to that later. I'm talking about the water that comes out of the tap in your hotel room, the water you use to brush your teeth, the water you drink thinking it's safe because this is America, right? Wrong. Los Angeles water has been found to contain concerning levels of contaminants that most people never hear about. The city's aging infrastructure means that pipes installed decades ago are leaching lead into the water supply. Lead, the same neurotoxin that destroyed an entire generation of children in Flint, Michigan. And it's not just lead. There have been detections of arsenic, hexavalent chromium, and disinfection byproducts that are linked to cancer. The Metropolitan Water District of Southern California serves 19 million people, and while they insist the water meets federal standards, those standards were set decades ago and have not kept pace with modern science. Independent testing has revealed that legal does not mean safe. Some neighborhoods in Los Angeles have water contamination levels that would trigger warnings in other cities, but here, silence. The tourism board does not want you to know that the shower you take in your downtown hotel might be exposing you to chemicals that accumulate in your body over time. Tourists stay for a few days, maybe a week, and they think they're fine. But residents? They live with this every single day. They watch their children drink this water. They cook with it. They bathe in it. And slowly, quietly, the health impacts add up. Increased cancer rates in certain zip codes, developmental issues in children, skin problems, digestive issues. But connecting the dots requires data that the city is not always eager to share. So tourists remain blissfully ignorant, filling their water bottles from the tap, trusting a system that has failed so many other American cities before. Now let's talk about danger number 4, and this one is going to surprise you because it happens in one of the most beautiful places in the entire city, the beaches. Those gorgeous stretches of sand where tourists flock to get that perfect Instagram shot, to feel the Pacific Ocean on their skin, to live out their California dream. But what they don't know is that the water they're swimming in is often contaminated with bacteria levels that exceed safe limits. Every summer, beaches across Los Angeles County are closed due to high levels of fecal bacteria. Yes, you read that correctly. Fecal bacteria. From sewage overflows, from urban runoff, from the millions of people and animals whose waste finds its way into the storm drains that empty directly into the ocean. After it rains, the contamination gets even worse. All the oil, trash, chemicals, and biological waste from the streets gets washed into the sea, creating a toxic soup that can cause ear infections, respiratory illness, skin rashes, and gastrointestinal problems. But here is the thing, the warning signs are small, easy to miss. Most tourists never even see them. They just run into the water, thrilled to be in Los Angeles, and 24 hours later, they are sick in their hotel room wondering what went wrong. Heal the Bay, a local environmental organization, publishes an annual beach report card, and year after year, certain beaches in Los Angeles County get D and F grades for water quality. Santa Monica Bay, Venice Beach, Dockweiler Beach. These are iconic names, places that show up in every travel guide, and yet the water can be a health hazard. The city knows this. Environmental groups have been sounding the alarm for decades. But tourism is big business, and bad press about dirty water is bad for business. So the information gets buried, the warnings get downplayed, and tourists keep swimming, keep surfing, keep playing in water that should come with a much bigger, much clearer warning label. Danger number 5 lives in the shadows, in the alleys, in the places where the city's glamour cannot quite reach. Gang violence. Los Angeles has one of the most complex gang landscapes in America, with over 450 active gangs and more than 45,000 gang members operating across the county. These are not just statistics. These are real people, real territories, real conflicts that erupt into violence with terrifying regularity. Certain neighborhoods in LA have invisible borders that tourists cannot see, but locals know by heart. Cross the wrong street at the wrong time, and you could find yourself in the middle of a situation you never saw coming. South Los Angeles, East LA, parts of the San Fernando Valley. These areas have rich cultures, beautiful communities, incredible food, and also some of the highest gang activity in the city. Tourists often wander into these neighborhoods following food blogs or street art tours, completely unaware of the context, completely unprepared for the reality that gunfire is a common sound here, that memorials for young lives lost line the streets, that the wrong color shirt or the wrong hand gesture can be misinterpreted as a sign of disrespect. The danger is not that every gang member is looking for trouble. Most are not. The danger is the unpredictability. A tourist taking a photo on the wrong corner, a rental car accidentally blocking someone's driveway, a simple misunderstanding that escalates because outsiders do not know the rules. And here is what makes it worse. Law enforcement's relationship with these communities is complicated, to put it mildly. Decades of tension, of over-policing and under-protection have created an environment where people do not always trust the police to keep them safe. So when violence erupts, when tourists find themselves in danger, the response is not always what they expect. The city has made efforts, gang intervention programs, community outreach, but the reality remains that Los Angeles is a patchwork of territories, and tourists walking through with their cameras and their rental cars are often completely oblivious to the invisible lines they are crossing. Danger number 6 comes from below: earthquakes. Everyone knows California has earthquakes. It's part of the deal, right? But what most tourists do not understand is just how unprepared Los Angeles is for the big one that scientists say is overdue. The San Andreas Fault runs through California like a ticking time bomb. Geologists estimate there is a 99% chance of a magnitude 6.7 or larger earthquake hitting California in the next 30 years. 99%. That is not a maybe, that is a certainty. And Los Angeles, despite decades of warnings, still has thousands of buildings that are not up to modern seismic standards. Unreinforced masonry buildings, older wood frame apartments, infrastructure that was built before anyone truly understood how devastating earthquakes could be. When the big one hits, and it will hit, tourists staying in older hotels, eating in older restaurants, shopping in older districts will be inside structures that could collapse. The city has a retrofit program, but progress is slow, expensive, fought against by property owners who do not want to pay for upgrades. So the danger sits there, hidden in plain sight, in the very buildings that tourists assume are safe because they passed some inspection somewhere. But here is the scariest part. Most tourists have no idea what to do in an earthquake. They have never practiced drop, cover, and hold on. They do not know that doorways are not actually the safest place, despite what old advice used to say. They do not know about aftershocks, about gas leaks, about the chaos that follows a major seismic event. They just know they are on vacation in sunny California, and then suddenly the ground is shaking, glass is breaking, people are screaming, and they are completely unprepared for a disaster that Angelenos have been warned about their entire lives. The city has emergency plans, disaster response teams, but in the immediate aftermath of a major earthquake, you are on your own. And tourists, they are the most vulnerable people in that scenario, because they do not know the city, they do not have local networks, they do not have supplies. They are just visitors caught in a nightmare they never saw coming. Let's move to danger number 7, and this one is psychological as much as physical: the traffic. I know what you're thinking. Traffic? That is your idea of a hidden danger? But hear me out. Los Angeles traffic is not just an inconvenience. It is a mental health crisis waiting to happen. The average Los Angeles driver spends over 119 hours per year stuck in traffic. That is nearly 5 full days of your life, sitting in a car, going nowhere, breathing in exhaust fumes, feeling your blood pressure rise with every minute that ticks by. For tourists, this experience is amplified because they are not used to it. They rent a car, thinking they will cruise around the city, seeing all the sights. And instead, they find themselves trapped on the 405 freeway in a parking lot of rage and frustration. But here is the hidden danger. Aggressive driving, road rage incidents, and traffic-related violence are shockingly common in Los Angeles. People snap, they lose control. A simple lane change becomes a confrontation. A honk becomes a threat. There are documented cases of shootings, of assaults, of people getting out of their cars on the freeway to fight because the stress of Los Angeles traffic pushed them past their breaking point. Tourists, unfamiliar with local driving culture, often make mistakes. They cut someone off without realizing it. They drive too slow in the fast lane. They hesitate at an intersection. And suddenly they are dealing with an angry local who has been fighting this traffic for years and has zero patience left. Beyond the violence, there is the simple psychological toll. Studies show that long commutes and heavy traffic are linked to increased anxiety, depression, and overall life dissatisfaction. Tourists come to Los Angeles to relax, to have fun, to escape their everyday lives, and instead they find themselves white-knuckling the steering wheel, cursing under their breath, arriving at their destination already exhausted and irritable. The city has been trying to improve public transportation for decades, but Los Angeles is so sprawling, so car-dependent, that avoiding traffic is almost impossible. So tourists sit there, stuck, slowly realizing that this dream city has a dark side that nobody warned them about. Danger number 8 comes from the economy itself. The cost of living in Los Angeles is crushing, and tourists often do not realize just how desperate that makes some people. Petty crime, theft, car break-ins, these are not just random acts. They are survival strategies in a city where rent is astronomical, where wages have not kept pace with housing costs, where people are working 2 or 3 jobs and still cannot make ends meet. Tourists are easy targets. They park their rental cars in scenic overlooks to take photos, and when they come back, the window is smashed and all their belongings are gone. They leave their bags on the beach while they swim, and when they return, everything has vanished. They walk through tourist-heavy areas with their phones out, not paying attention, and suddenly someone runs by and snatches it right out of their hands. The criminals know that tourists are distracted, that they are carrying valuables, that they are unlikely to stick around long enough to press charges or follow up with police. Venice Beach, Hollywood Boulevard, Santa Monica Pier. These are hot spots not just for tourists, but for the people who prey on them. And the police? They are overwhelmed. Los Angeles has one of the lowest ratios of police officers to residents of any major city. Crime reports often go unfiled. Follow-up investigations rarely happen unless someone was seriously injured. So tourists become statistics in a system that does not have the resources to protect them. And here is the psychological danger that nobody talks about. Having your belongings stolen, your car broken into, your sense of safety violated, that trauma stays with you. It changes how you see the city, it changes how you see people. Tourists come to Los Angeles with open hearts and open wallets, and they leave feeling violated, feeling stupid for trusting, feeling like they should have known better. The city's economic inequality creates desperation, and tourists walking through with their privilege on full display become targets in a silent war between the haves and the have-nots. Danger number 9 is environmental, and it is getting worse every single year. Wildfires. Southern California has always had fire season, but climate change has turned fire season into fire year. The hills surrounding Los Angeles are covered in dry brush that ignites like kindling whenever the hot Santa Ana winds blow through. Tourists booking their trips months in advance have no idea whether they will arrive during a major fire event, and when they do, the danger is real. In 2017, the Thomas Fire burned over 280,000 acres and forced thousands of people to evacuate. In 2018, the Woolsey Fire ripped through Malibu, destroying over 1,500 structures and killing 3 people. These are not distant rural fires. These are fires that reach into populated areas, that shut down freeways, that fill the air with smoke so thick you cannot see 10 feet in front of you. Tourists staying in hillside hotels, in Airbnbs tucked into the canyons, have no idea that the beautiful views they are paying for come with the risk of being trapped in an evacuation zone with only one road out and thousands of people trying to use it at the same time. The city has emergency alert systems, but tourists often do not sign up for them. They do not know which local news stations to watch. They do not understand the evacuation routes. So when the fire comes, and it will come, they are the most vulnerable people in the chaos. Beyond the immediate danger of the fires themselves, there is the smoke. Wildfire smoke contains particulate matter that is far more toxic than regular air pollution. Breathing it can cause immediate respiratory distress, can trigger asthma attacks, can damage your lungs in ways that last long after the smoke clears. But tourists see the haze, they smell the burning, and they think it is just part of the California experience. They do not realize they are inhaling a toxic cocktail that is harming their bodies with every breath. The city tries to warn people. Air quality alerts go out. But tourists are on vacation. They have plans. They are not going to stay inside just because the air quality index is in the hazardous range. So they go hiking. They go to the beach. They walk around Santa Monica with that acrid smoke in their lungs, and they do not connect the dots until later, when they are back home and still coughing, still feeling the effects of exposure they never took seriously. And now we arrive at danger number 10. And this one is the most insidious because it is invisible, it is systemic, and it affects every single aspect of the city. Inequality. Los Angeles has one of the highest rates of income inequality in the United States. There are neighborhoods where the average home price is $15 million. And 2 miles away, there are people living in their cars because they cannot afford rent anywhere. This divide is not just an economic statistic. It is a lived reality that creates tension, resentment, and danger in ways most tourists never see. The people who clean the hotel rooms, who serve the food, who park the cars, many of them are barely surviving. They commute hours each day from the only neighborhoods they can afford to live in. They work multiple jobs. They sacrifice time with their families just to keep a roof over their heads. And when they look at tourists spending $300 on a dinner without thinking twice, ordering bottle service at clubs, buying designer clothes like it means nothing, that disparity breeds anger. Most of the time, it stays beneath the surface, but sometimes it erupts. The danger here is not always physical. It is the emotional and psychological reality of being in a city where your privilege is constantly on display, where the people serving you are one medical emergency away from homelessness, where the systems that protect you are the same systems that oppress them. Tourists do not see this. They see the shiny parts, the Hollywood sign, the fancy restaurants, the beautiful people. They do not see the struggle happening in the background to maintain that illusion. And that blindness is dangerous because it perpetuates the very inequality that makes Los Angeles such a volatile place. When you do not understand the context, when you do not see the humanity in the people around you, you become part of the problem. You become another tourist taking from the city without giving back, without understanding, without caring about the real Los Angeles that exists beneath the surface. So here we are, 10 hidden dangers, 10 realities that the tourism industry does not want you to know about. Los Angeles is a city of extremes. Extraordinary beauty and devastating poverty, stunning beaches and toxic water, dreams realized and lives destroyed. The city you see in the movies is real, but so is everything we just talked about. And the question is, now that you know, what will you do with this information? Will you cancel your trip? Will you stay hyper-vigilant? Or will you do what most people do and assume it won't happen to you? Because that is the thing about hidden dangers. They are hidden until suddenly they are not. Until you are the one stuck on Skid Row at midnight. Until you are the one breathing in wildfire smoke. Until you are the one whose car got broken into at the scenic overlook. Until you are the one caught in the crossfire of someone else's desperation. Empty streets, empty promises, empty dreams. Los Angeles sells you a fantasy, and for some people, that fantasy comes true. But for every success story, there are 1,000 untold stories of people who came here and lost everything. People who believed the hype and found only heartbreak. People who thought they were safe and learned too late that safety is an illusion in a city built on fault lines, both geological and social. The city glows at night. The lights from the Hollywood Hills stretch out like a blanket of stars fallen to earth. It is beautiful. It is breathtaking. But we saw what happens when you look closer. We saw the cracks in the foundation. We saw the dangers hiding in plain sight. Maybe there is still hope. Maybe the next generation will fix the water, clean the air, house the homeless, bridge the inequality. Maybe Los Angeles will finally become the city of angels it always claimed to be. But until then, the dangers remain, hidden, waiting, ignored by millions of tourists who come here every year with stars in their eyes and no idea what they are really walking into. It is time we remember what this city really is. Not just a destination, not just a dream, but a complex, contradictory, dangerous, beautiful mess of humanity trying to survive on the edge of the Pacific. And if you have felt this change too, if you have seen these hidden dangers, if you have lived through any of these realities, share your story, because the only way anything changes is if we stop pretending everything is fine. The next story might reveal where everyone is going next. But for now, Los Angeles remains exactly what it has always been. A city that promises everything and delivers whatever you are willing to risk to find it.